this is Trump on Maria. Hello, if the lady complaining, why that's Maria Bartiromo. And he's selling the big bill and some bullshit. I have not watched any of this. God help us all. You're watching House Sparks Mega Worldwide, the greatest live stream in the history of live streams. I'm House Sparks. Here we go.
Anybody has ever seen, from striking Iran to going to NATO.
Hold on. Back up. What are we seeing the last of the bit? There we go.
Mr. President, you were just coming off of one of the most consequential weeks anybody has ever seen, from striking Iran to going to NATO, to announcing 2 deals, and then...
Hey, moron, did you do realize we were in Iraq and Afghanistan for like 20 fucking years? 9/11, anything? Like the 2008 crash? No, he's been flying around doing petty shit. None of it's hard work. He's making it harder.
This Supreme Court victory, have you been able to digest what has occurred in the last 7 days?
No.
Not really. It was pretty wild period of time, and I really think in 6 months we've taken the country and turned it around. It's
yes, we were headed in the direction of lower unemployment and increasing wages and safety and security and better environmental policy, and you've turned that around 180 degrees.
I was told by the King of Saudi Arabia.
Oh, right, that you were ice cold and now we're the hottest country in the world. And by the way, fuck any monarch in the world. Fuck them. I don't care. I live in a democracy. I don't give a shit. Stop talking about magic families as if they're a real thing.
By the leader of Qatar and the leader of UAE, when we went over there, we brought back $5.1 trillion investment into the United States. They said, you know, you're presiding now over the hottest country in the world. And a year ago, we thought your country was dead. It could never come back. It was so incompetently run.
Yeah, nobody thought that. They might have thought we would never come back to them.
By a very bad president. And I said, you're right, this country is hot. And that was a couple of months ago. You know, now we're talking about what we've done recently. So the country is really going. The numbers are great. I watch you in the mornings and you're giving those numbers and they're really good. No inflation. We have a bad Fed chairman, but other than that, we have, you know, great. It doesn't even matter. The numbers are so good, it doesn't matter that he keeps the rates artificially high.
Well, they're not artificial. They're what the Fed sets, and it does matter.
But it's been an amazing period of time.
Mm-hmm.
When you went to the Middle East and you strengthened those relationships with
allegedly
all of those countries you just mentioned, did you have an idea that you would have?
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, strengthen those relationships with those countries. You mean between him and his business and those countries, not the United States. Okay, sorry. I thought you meant in terms of as the president of the United States. No, okay.
To do something with regard to Iran, because you teased it a little. You said, look, they've got to come to the table and talk. Something's going to happen.
Well, it was getting a little bit hot, and we knew they had a lot of sites, probably 3 plus the 1.
3 plus the 1. We hit 3, so there's a 1 out there too. Good. Okay. There's breaking news.
But they had 3 main sites, and we knew they're going to have to either give them up. And I thought we could do it during negotiation, and we just about had it done. And then they said, we want enrichment. Enrichment doesn't mean like air conditioning, and it doesn't mean to jack up your car. Enrichment is a bad word.
Okay. First of all, what? Enrichment doesn't mean to jack up your car.
Had it done, and then they said, we want enrichment. Enrichment doesn't mean like air conditioning, and it doesn't mean to jack up your car. Enrichment is a bad word.
Okay. Enrichment isn't necessarily a bad word. I'm sure, adding vitamin A and D to milk, for example, to enrich it is not particularly concerning. But I don't think anybody thinks enrichment meant air conditioning and to jack up your car. I think if I can honestly try to understand what the fuck he thinks he's saying, is that isn't power for air conditioning because it's hot in that part of the world. So his simple brain is like, it's so hot over there they must need nuclear reactors just for all the air conditioners. He heard someone joke about that, and then when it filtered its way through the colon that he has instead of a brain, that's the linguistic turd that dropped out. The car thing, I guess 1.21 gigawatts, is that what he thinks when people are talking about how much power is coming out of these things, somebody like Elon Musk always mentions Marty McFly or the DeLorean, and he doesn't understand what that is. He's like, no, that's not what they're talking about. They're like, asshole, we know these are movies that everybody's seen except you, because no one would go to the movies with you because you fart through the whole thing and you keep asking questions.
And I said, you got so much oil, what do you need that for? And they said, well, we need it, and I wouldn't let that happen.
Is that what they said? Well, we need it. They didn't go further. They didn't break it down. They didn't, you were on the phone with them and they were like, well, we do.
I think people wouldn't have understood it if I allowed that to happen.
I don't understand it now.
So we had a 60-day talk, and that delayed them a lot. And then we said, let's go at it.
Jesus Christ. Okay, first of all, you didn't have it didn't delay them during the 60-day talk, right? They didn't go, all right, we'll talk for 60 days and we won't enrich anything or do anything during those 60 days. They clearly didn't do that, so you're fucking drunk. I don't know what the hell that is. And then we had to go at it. He says hot and heavy a lot, like he doesn't know the difference between strafe bombing somebody and making out with them, which explains, the corner he put E. Jean Carroll in as a human being. Like, maybe there isn't a difference to him.
And it just worked out, and we wanted to work out.
It didn't just work out.
Also for Iran, they were beaten up, and so was Israel, in all fairness. They were both very tight. We call it the 12-day war. That was an intensive war. But
which is still going on.
Thing that I wanted to do, and I've said it on your show, if you look back 30 years ago or 25 years, we've been doing your show a long time, and nobody like you. But you look back at the early interviews, I would say Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. They've wanted this for years, and they were weeks away from getting it.
Months, not weeks. Yeah, no.
And those pilots went in there with those beautiful planes and the most sophisticated bombs anywhere in the world. Think of it, they can go 30 stories deep into granite. Who would think that's even possible?
I think the people who designed it, the people who deliver it, the people who plan for this kind of an operation, those people can definitely believe it. I'm guessing.
And they did obliterate it, it turned.
And physics professors, probably, and their students, and anybody with a rudimentary understanding of gravity and an awareness that if nukes can do a certain amount of damage, certainly there's a volume of conventional explosives that can, never mind.
Then we had to suffer the fake news, where the fake news in CNN and the New York Times was saying, well, maybe it wasn't as good as Trump said. Maybe it wasn't totally obliterated, but it was destroyed, but not just horrible. And I could.
Yeah, boo fuckity hoo. You said obliterated, and it's clearly not. Mr. 3 sites plus 1, and you only hit 3 sites, so where's the plus 1?
See it happening, and they tried to build that into a story. And
it is a story. It's a real thing.
Then it turned out, no, it was obliterated like nobody's ever seen before.
Well, you can't see obliteration. I think that's sort of a black hole issue. Also, you're insane.
And that meant the end to their nuclear ambitions, at least.
Nope.
For a period of time. And
for a period of time. How long? How long was it? 35 seconds? A minute and a half? Where they were like, oh, damn. But we're still going to do it. That was probably how long, right? About 20 seconds? That is where their ambition was destroyed?
A lot of people have said, well, do you think they're going to start again? I said, the last thing they want to do right now is think about nuclear. They have to put themselves back into condition and shape.
Yes, condition and shape. And the shape of a nuclear warhead, I think, is going to be paramount to their existence, because they're going to think having a nuke is now an existential necessity. Thanks, dummy.
The Democrats leaked an intelligence.
They should be prosecuted.
Who specifically?
Whoa, hold on.
You tweeted, the Democrats leaked an intelligence.
They should be prosecuted.
Who specifically? Do we know who did it? Will you be able to find out?
You can find out. If they wanted, they could find out easily. You know, you go up and tell the reporter, national security, who gave it. You have to do that.
Well, I guess yank Kash Patel by his ear and drag him the fuck in there, right?
And I suspect we'll be doing things like that.
Well, those pilots were so courageous.
Wait, sorry, you suspect you will be going to reporters and saying, national security, tell me who leaked to you. Also, it isn't. Sorry. You know what it is? Signalgate. If you're not going to prosecute anybody for Signalgate, which was active, like, battle plans being told 2 hours before our pilots were in the air, which would give anybody with a fucking compass and a calculator the ability to tell where they were coming from, when they would be overhead, and how high up they would be, and how fast they'd be traveling, so you could shoot them down. If you're not going to, go after anybody for signal, somebody doing an after-action report about whether or not the damage is as real as you said it was. When you say it's obliterated, that's a fact. That's a statement of fact. If it isn't, it's a lie. Therefore, the facts are what's being leaked out. And again, you can't leak a lie. So every time he says there was a leak about we didn't obliterate it, then if he says there's a leak, that means it's true. We did not eliminate their program. It was not obliterated. You know how I know? He told you. It's accidental truth.
And, you want to honor them. Are you going to do something for them? Or
Yes, they're going to come to the White House. But what you said is right. These people flew 36 hours in a small space, a big plane, but a small space that was mostly occupied by bombs. And they flew so brilliantly. And they hit a target the size of this circle.
Yeah, but they didn't fucking dive bomb it, you dumb motherfucker. These things are laser targeted. It's the technology. They didn't. There wasn't some asshole sitting on top of the bomb like Slim Whitman, like using horse reins to guide the thing into the fucking ground. You dummy. It's the technology. Like, it's not undercutting the bomber crew. They did their job very well. They're very well trained. It's amazing. But they didn't F-16 drop. It wasn't fucking Top Gun Maverick, dummy. It just wasn't. They didn't have to dogfight their way out, you dumb motherfucker. Israel cleared the air.
Little target, they say half the size of a refrigerator door from...
By the way, no, they don't. They said refrigerator door, and he made it half size. That's the other thing. Everything's got to be twice as much as they told him, or half as small as they told him. Maybe this is just leftover from his night with Stormy Daniels, that, everything is cut in half.
50,000 feet up in the air, going at a rapid speed, because they're going very fast when they're over a pretty rough territory, and they hit it.
I'm sorry. You think a plane that big has like a coasting speed?
Every single time, and then they knock out 2 other sites aside from that.
Do you think that
Also, no, they didn't. They hit those 3. The other 2 sites were hit with surface-to-air missiles from, sub to air to land missiles.
the Iran regime hid some of the enriched uranium before the strikes?
No.
Yes. Yes, they did. They obviously did.
Regime hid some of the enriched uranium before the strikes.
No. You mean, did they take it out of the deep one? No.
Because you were
Out of the deep one. So there's only one deep one? Motherfucker.
pretty clear you can't have a weapon. You're going to have to come to the talk. Something's going to happen.
I don't think they did. No, I think, first of all, it's very hard to do. It's very dangerous to do.
No, it is not.
It's very heavy, very, very heavy.
Yeah, they have trucks that can carry it.
It's a very hard thing to do. Plus,
No, it's not. I don't know why he thinks it's hard. I really don't. If you have a system like that, if you have a nuclear program, everything about it is hard, you dumb motherfucker. Everything. Especially protecting it if you plan on using it one day, because you know it's a target, not just from the United States, but from Israel or other countries. You might even have somebody who wants to subvert it to, tip off something in the Middle East. So, like militias in Pakistan and like Taliban-related groups or ISIS will want to trigger something. So you use that material to attack, Israel and blame it on them. So you have to worry about false flags. That's part. Of course, it's difficult. But But of course you can truck the shit around, you weirdo.
We didn't give much notice because they didn't know we were coming until just, then.
Jesus Christ, they didn't have to know you were coming, you dumb motherfucker. Israel was already bombing the area. They could bomb the opening so they couldn't get to the shit. Of course they moved some of it out of there, because even if it only set them back a few months, that would be enough to decapitate the regime. They were under direct assault. So while Israel was hitting them, it made sense to move and secure some of their shit to another location.
Nobody thought we'd go after that site because everybody said that site is impenetrable. You can't, you're not going to be. This way they did. It's at the bottom of a mountain.
The bottom of a mountain. I just want you to think about that phrase for a moment. The bottom of a mountain. Bottom of a mountain. This may help you kind of grasp the fact that the people that we're dealing with here are intellectually incapable of comprehending the issues in front of them in the most generic terms, much less the intricate details of the circumstance, the math or the battle plan aspect of it. They're outsourcing all that shit, hoping that the people that they put in charge of stuff like Raising Cane and all those folks know what the fuck they're doing, because they can't even grasp the concept, bottom of a mountain.
And it's granite. Granite's the hardest stone, and it's granite. So, no.
And we take that for granted.
No, they didn't. But I do believe they had people there because you had cars. They were saying cars. And those were masons. Those were people working with concrete. They were trying to seal up the entrance to where.
I see. As a mason, no. They weren't masons there trying to seal up the doors with concrete. You tit.
Where the bomb would most likely go in. And they did that. They were working on that. And the bomb went through it like it was butter, like it was absolute butter.
Because I saw reports that there were 400 kilograms, 800 pounds that they moved, but I wonder if it's traceable. I mean, if they were to have.
Yeah, you heard reports of that. You've also had people in Maria Bartiromo, I guarantee, has had people, if she's not included in one of these fucking signal conversations, has people within the Pentagon, because it's Fox News, who are friendly to Republicans, who are telling her the truth about this stuff. Or at least it's getting through to people that somebody else at Fox News, and she's hearing it on the whisper trail around there.
They didn't move anything. You know what they moved themselves? They were all trying to live. They didn't move anything. They didn't.
Also, again, this weird assertion that he makes, that they didn't move anything, isn't based on anything other than his lack of knowledge about it would make it look like he knows that they moved it, right? If he says anything but no, it was totally destroyed, they never got out of the way. If he says anything short of that, it's clear that they absolutely could have. He knows that they could have. He knows that they did. So this denial is. There's like plausible deniability, and then there's implausible deniability. This is implausible deniability. He can't even know the negative that he's saying, but he's got to say it, because if there's any wiggle room at all, we have to hit them again. And that's what's ultimately going to happen. That's what this is heading towards. We're going to strike another site inside of Iran at some point. If the big bill doesn't go through, or some other, if he's on the downslope of some other issue, pow.
I didn't think it was going to be actually doable what we did. And what?
Sorry, what? Mushhead?
They didn't move anything.
They moved themselves. They were all trying to live. They didn't move anything. They didn't think it was going to be actually doable what we did.
They didn't think it was going to be an actual doable what we did. So I guess it makes it a diddable. A doable. They didn't think it would be an actual doable. They didn't think we'd actually have the capability to pull it off or to do.
And what we did was amazing. And they.
Oh, did we? Really? Were you in the plane, you and JD? Did you get to push the button?
We went. There were energy commissions that went there. Now, no, it's just.
There were energy commissions that went down. Did somebody check the meter?
Thousands of tons of rock. In that room right now. That room, the whole place was just destroyed. And the other two also. Now, Israel was able to do damage. but we did the final damage. And we have the greatest submarines in the world. We launched 30 rockets from submarines. Every single one of them hit their target.
How will you?
Yeah, but those weren't bunker busters. Those were for destroying surface buildings. Basically the same kind of thing that Israel was dropping on these things. They weren't the bunker busters, which means the two other sites were just, if they had underground facilities at those places, even as storage, you didn't hit them. Maybe that's where they took the shit. Wouldn't you? I gotta tell you, if, ladies and gentlemen, if we think about it, chat room, real quick. Let's play a little game. Let's say you're Iran. You wake up every morning and you say death to America and death to Israel, and you know that both of those countries kind of take it personally. And after the kickoff of October 7th and Donald Trump's whole big thing for 30 years saying Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon, and you believe having one is the only thing that's going to stop you, or only thing that's going to stop Israel from bombing you into oblivion at some point once you decide it's time to go to the other side and take them with you. So you've decided you're going to have a nuke, and you got to have one. It's existential. It's important to your existence that you must have a nuclear weapon. You start enriching. And then people bomb your facility. And then you start enriching again. And they bomb your facility again. And every time you get within 6 to 8 months or 10 months of doing it, you get hit by something and you get set back, and you have to rebuild the shit. And then you get around to there's a deal. And you go, okay, you know what? Fuck this. We don't need to do this. We're going to have an enrichment deal. We'll have inspectors come in here and we're just going to have nuclear power. And maybe this will stop, because we have nuclear power, this will stop them from bombing our certain sites because they're afraid of the drift of the nuclear damage that could happen. So this is you're thinking like during Obama, you get this deal and we'll see how it goes. And you've got a new president there, but the Ayatollah may still say what he says, but things are shifting. And then Donald Trump comes in, scuttles the whole fucking thing, and Mr. You can never have a nuclear weapon starts talking about the fact that you have one and you're pretty sure you have one, and you got to have one, and you're pretty sure you're going to have one. Even if you say you're not, you definitely are, and this was bullshit, and you're closer than you ever have, even if you paused. So you start enriching again, and you get to 60%, which is, within spitting distance, months away from enough material and the kind of material you need to actually have one. And it's in these particular facilities. And as you're enriching this stuff, what do you do with it? Do you keep it all in the same spot so that if they hit one target, they knock it all out? Or do you take it and you start storing it in places? You start moving it to 5 or 7 different places around the country, some close to your actual nuclear reactors, some, in a military bunker like the ones at Fort Howell, maybe, at an unknown place. Shit, maybe you just take it into a granite cave someplace in a container and just park a truck in there with it just to make sure there's some, so that if they hit your sites, you can just go and grab this stuff and you've got enough material that you can keep this process going. Right? You gotta move it. You gotta move it. That's right. You could also, yes, you could make decoys. You could send stuff out, and that's you basically take a small amount of it, just enough for like satellite trackers to recognize there's radioactive material moving around. So basically put it in a car with a sunroof so you can really see it, and then you wrap another chunk of it in lead, like a big heavy vehicle, and then you drive that in the other direction. So you spread it out all over the place. You crash that truck into a ravine so it's there. So if you ever need it, you just dig the fucker up, right? Again, maybe they're doing it, maybe they're not. But you and I would do it if that was existential to the safety of the country, right? It's so fucking lazy. All right. Anyways, back to
If
Butterhead.
he tries to start things up again, because Iran just said that they are halting cooperation with the UN nuclear watchdog.
The last thing they're going to be doing right now, for a period of time at least, is nuclear.
Why? Why? What else have they got going on?
At it. They've been trying it for 25 years. The last thing they're going to do is nuclear. We had to hit them, though. They were close to getting a nuclear bomb.
No, they weren't. They were months, if not over a year away. They weren't that close. They weren't fucking putting the final pieces together. This wasn't the end of a Jenga game, you dipshit.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, and look, I've heard from people inside Iran that the regime in Iran has executed more Iranian civilians in the past 48 hours than the number of Iranians who died in the 12-day war. So, I mean, you've got a regime that's been building ballistic missiles, building or trying to build a nuclear weapon. Why should we?
Look at him. He has no idea what the fuck she's talking about. Look at his face. Look at his fucking stupid God damn it. Think about this for a second. This.
Here I am like an idiot.
He has no idea what the fuck she's talking about. No idea whatsoever. These details should be in his presidential daily brief. I guarantee they are. And he doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about. Look at him. She's giving him a piece of information. You can tell. This is the look he gives to people on his staff who tell him this is stuff you don't know and you need to know this. So what is going through this dipshit's brain, if anything, right now, is how do I spin this back to what I want to talk about, to my lie?
Think that they're actually going to give up on this?
Well, they might not give up, but they're going to give up on it while they're exhausted. They are exhausted. They took hits like nobody's ever taken. And frankly, Israel is tight.
Also, Gaza? What are you talking about? You think Tehran was hit? Look at fucking Ukraine. They're not bending. Jesus Christ. Kyiv was hit worse than Tehran was in the beginning of the Russian war. They're not exhausted. They're fanatics, you dumb motherfucker. Oh my God. Fanatics don't get exhausted. That's one of the features you have to concern yourself with when you're dealing with a regime that's based on a specific ideology, especially one that's effectively a death cult like Khomeini. That, by the way, doesn't reflect, this is not what the Iranian people want, but those motherfuckers don't care. In the same way that this asshole doesn't give a shit about the heartland or fucking maggots. He's doing business. If you die, they're culling the herd a little bit. Same thing is true of Khomeini. That's why he's like, they're exhausted. No, you're projecting. You're exhausted. You're both old fucks. And that's what he's doing. He's looking at Khomeini going, I'm exhausted. He must be more exhausted. That's where this is coming from.
They wanted to, it was the perfect time. We went in, we destroyed their nuclear capability.
Nope.
And we stopped. It was a beautiful thing. And they couldn't have gone on much further. And Israel was that was a very intense 12 days.
Jesus Christ. No, it was not. Look, there was, there were bombs going off. You had Israel, the Iron Dome was like running out of munitions at one particular point. There was more of a reason to slow things down for Israel to protect their cities, because while they were targeting, and this is, say what you will there, chat room that gets upset sometimes about this, but Israel was striking places where they knew generals were or scientists were, and Iran was just bombing Tel Aviv. They were just strafe bomb. They just didn't give a shit where anything landed. They were just bombing a city. They just knew that the Iron Dome would protect most of the people, so they would avoid, civilian death, war crimes on their attacks, because Iran has the Iron Dome. So they could just do it, and it would be very scary and look like they were big trouble. We really mean to wipe you out. That darn shield gets in the way. Meanwhile, Israel was striking military sites and military targets within the country. They were, like, Tehran still stands. They didn't wipe Tehran. Oh, fuck. Hold on. This is going to aggravate me. It always does. I know. Hold on. Let me show you something. Hold on. Live Tehran cam. Turn off the mute. Here you go. It's a live shot here on the right. Here's Tehran, Isfahan. There's South Israel and Gaza. It's dark there, whatever. This is an Israel cam. There's another Isfahan, whatever. This is Still there. That's not fire. That's traffic and street lights and shit like that. They're still there. By the way, nighttime. Here's nighttime in Tehran. This is nighttime in Gaza. Notice anything? Notice anything different between these two places? As far as they were hit like nobody's ever been hit before, you dipshit. So fucking aggravating. They've been hit like nobody's ever. Jesus Christ, man. Hold on. This is Tel Aviv sky. This is. I don't know if this is live now. That Iran is still firing on them. See, Tehran, safe and over top commanders. Yeah, here you go. There you go. This is hit harder than anybody's ever been hit before. There's Tel Aviv. There's Iran. There's other cities. There's Haifa. Yeah. There's Home in Iran. There's the West Bank. Look at that. Street lights. Street lights, people. Ah! Right. There you go. Street lights. There you go. And, yeah, there's just stuff. There's Tel Aviv. Anybody see like nobody's ever been, never ever hit before. There's nobody ever hit. Jesus Christ, man. Meanwhile, let's see. I don't know if we have. Well, shit. What can I show? It's always tough, man, when it comes to showing you guys stuff from Ukraine, because a lot of it would effectively violate the terms of service on here. It's Donetsk. Hold on 1 second. Yeah, can't show that. Can't show that. People being blown to smithereens. Carcasses. There you go. Let's see if we could show this. There you go. There's that's in Luhansk, in the like the Russian controlled areas in Ukraine right now. Right, that tonight, currently. And that's the long shot I can show you. Here's a let's see. Where's the nope, can't show that. Let me see if I can do this. I'm trying to show you like up-to-date shit. There's Rostov on Don. Yeah, there's the Luhansk one. As a result of the UAV attack and oil deposit. Yeah, this is the it's an oil refinery and facility in Luhansk in the Donbass. It was hit by an unmanned aerial vehicle, a UAV, a drone. That's now. Meanwhile, it's nighttime in Tehran. Here's Tehran right there. There you go. So the idea that these assholes are over it or done or are crying uncle is fucking stupid. They are sleeping peacefully compared to the people who are listening to air raid sirens in Kyiv right now. This motherfucker.
Very intense.
Has any other country suggested to you recently, as a result of this, that they want to join the Abraham Accords?
Yes. So we have some really great countries in there right now, and I think we're going to start loading them up because...
Okay, who?
Iran was the primary problem. I actually thought Iran would... I actually thought we had a period of time where I thought Iran would join the Abraham Accords along with everybody else, and frankly, they would have...
No.
Been better off than where they are right now.
And what about the Abraham Accords? Would Syria enter?
Well, I don't know, but, I did take off the sanctions at the request of some of the other countries in the area that are friends of ours. I took off the sanctions on Syria to give them a chance at, the sanctions are biting. They're very strong.
Oh, they're very biting and very strong. So just to be real clear, if any Syrian groups are tied to any violence that happens in the region that harms our soldiers or people in the United States, we can draw it back to you lifting the sanctions, right? We're allowed to do that. That's that happens even to Israel or something like that, you're cool with that being your fucking fault? Because it's going to be.
And we have sanctions on Iran, too. And, you know, you take them off when I sort of gave the expression today, you get more sometimes with honey than you do with vinegar.
Yeah, that's the colloquialism. That's how we used to, you know, say you attract more bees with honey than vinegar, but maybe throw in a bit of a spoonful of sugar, and you know, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush, and just mix, rinse, and repeat. Just throw the words around. Can you read that to us again? How does it work?
Sanctions on Iran, too.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, you take them off when I sort of gave the expression today, you get more sometimes with honey than you do with vinegar.
Okay, that is true, though. He sort of gave the expression today.
But you waived the sanctions on the oil with regard to China. So you're allowing China to still buy the oil from Iran.
No, I didn't say that. We have the sanctions on. And if they do a job, and if they can be peaceful, and if they can show us they're not going to do any more harm, I would take the sanctions off. And
He already said he did. Hold on. Wait. China. Okay, so let's see. I'm gonna try the. What did he say? Let's see what he said. Okay, so let's see what Maria said. Let's see his answer real quick.
No, I didn't say that. More sometimes with honey than you do with vinegar.
But you waived the sanctions on the oil with regard to China. So you're allowing China to still buy the oil from Iran.
No, I didn't say that. We have the sanctions on. And if they do a job, and if they can be peaceful, and if they can show us they're not going to do any more harm, I would take the sanctions off. And the sanctions would make a big difference, as you know.
Okay, so she says you lifted the sanctions on China buying Iran's oil, and he said no. If they do a job, we will. Okay, June 25th, U.S. President Donald Trump said on Tuesday that China can continue to purchase Iranian oil after Israel and Iran agreed to a ceasefire. Already, that's past tense. A move the White House clarified did not indicate a relaxation of U.S. sanctions, which it absolutely did. China can now continue to purchase oil from Iran. Hopefully, they will be purchasing plenty from the U.S. also, Trump said in a post on Truth Social just days after he ordered U.S. bombings of 3 Iranian nuclear sites. The president continues to call on China and all countries to import our state-of-the-art oil. Jesus Christ. Our goo is so much finer than their goo, rather than import Iranian oil in violation of U.S. sanctions. But, on Truth Social, China can now continue, I guess he was okay with it before, to purchase oil from Iran. Hopefully they'll begin purchasing plenty from the U.S. also. He didn't say if maybe, if possibly, they could. I said if they are peaceful. Mm-mm.
You know, when I was, we had a great success in the first term. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country.
No, we did not.
By the way, it's going to be absolutely, this is better. This is going to be, I think, even much better. But we had the greatest economy in history. And we use sanctions. You use them very carefully. You know, sanctions cost us a lot of money. It's not just, gee, we're going to put sanctions on. When you do sanctions, it costs a lot of money.
No, it doesn't. I mean, look, I don't know. Maybe this is Matt Gaetz talking or him or whatever. Like when you put, let's say you put sanctions on a country for human trafficking, I suppose the price of a child for sex slavery goes up. And so you and Matt Gaetz will, you know, it hits you right in the pocketbook. The rest of us don't give a fuck.
But I would, one of the things I was thinking about doing, you start waiving them for countries like if they behave themselves like Iran, where they can sell oil and they can do the things that you want to be able to do. The sanctions are very powerful. and it makes it difficult. I'm not looking to make it difficult. I want them to have a good life, but they were trying to develop a bomb, and the reason you try and develop a bomb like that is to use it.
But I want to get your
Fucking hell.
take on China, really, because you've announced an agreement with the Chinese Communist Party, where China will export the rare earth minerals.
Yeah.
What does that mean in terms of this upcoming tariff structure? You've got a pause in terms of the more steep tariffs that ends August 12th. Are you going to extend that? Are you going to keep that in place or go back to a higher tariff on China?
China's going to be paying a lot of tariffs, but
Did you hear that edit? Listen to how hot cut they did this.
Or go
Listen.
back to a higher tariff on China?
China's going to be paying a
Listen to that.
Are you going to keep that in place or go back to a higher tariff on China?
China's going to be paying a lot.
Jesus. Can you imagine what rambly bullshit he was saying up till that word? And because he was like jamming the words close together, that they had to do that hard a cut.
Are you going to keep that in place or go back to a higher tariff on China?
China's going to be paying a lot of tariffs, but we have a big deficit.
Jesus.
They understand that.
She couldn't be even. This is important. They couldn't even be on him when they made the cut because it would be a jump cut.
China's going to be paying a lot of tariffs, but we have a big deficit. They understand that. I have a great relationship with President Xi. We have to do something about the deficit because we have a big trade deficit with China. Biden let it get up to $1 trillion. Think of it, $1 trillion deficit with one country.
Yeah, because they're our wholesaler, you dumb motherfucker. And during COVID, everything shut down. So there was the deficit dropped because nobody was buying anything, and then everybody made up for it as soon as the economy started coming back. People were like, "Wow, America is recovering faster than any other country in the world." Thanks to Joe Biden, and the deficit went up because people were like, "Oh, we can buy goods and sell them to the rest of the world," which is exactly what we do with that shit.
He let them just take them over the coals. We're not going to do that.
Take them over the. He let who?
Deficit with one country. He let them just take them over the coals. We're not going to do that.
He let them take them over the coals. Must be an eyes wide shut sex party thing. Just fuck on hot coals or something like that. I don't know.
But we're doing a rare earth deal, but we're also doing, remember, we have all of the airplane parts. They can't fly their airplanes without us. So we had, some guards also. But it should have never gotten that way because we should have been doing they call it magnets. It's a rare earth, but they call it magnets.
Do they? That's what they call it? They call it fucking magnets? Is that what they... Jesus Christ.
We should have been doing they call it magnets. It's a rare earth, but they call it magnets, a specific type. And they're making those magnets for us right now, and things are well. And we have a deal with China. It's a good deal, I think, hopefully for everybody.
Okay. So some of the rare earth materials are used to make magnets, and the ones he's talking about are the ones that they use for military applications. Like how many of these magnets are in each of these sensors and that kind of stuff. And it's fairly common. There's just a lot of bulk of it in China. It's nowhere near the hardest stuff to find, though. He just the only reason he knows about the magnetic elements of rare earth and why those are necessary is because all he gives a shit about is defense. He doesn't understand like all the electronics components that are necessary, which is much more ubiquitous in the world economy, much more necessary to the safety and security of the country, even than your fucking fighter jets. The triggers and the sensors in those things, still important, but fucking hell. Hold on, I gotta step back on this.
Things are well, and we have a deal with China. It's a good deal, I think, hopefully for everybody. We had a deal with China where it was 145% tariffs, and I will tell you, everything stopped in China. I saw that everything stopped, and
yeah, the boats shipping things to the United States.
We did China a favor, but we're getting along well with China. I think getting along well with China is a very good thing.
In what way? What do you mean getting along? Maybe that should be the question, Maria. What do you mean getting along? Are you supportive of the Uyghurs that are in concentration camps? The sterilization? The forced fucking, like, Han Chinese dude in the house that can fuck all the women if he wants to? This kind of prima nocta bullshit that they're doing? As they basically either murder, sterilize, or breed them out of existence? You're getting along with that part? Because those are the ones who are working in these mines. You know where those rare earths are fucking coming from? Guess who's operating in those mines? Guess who's down in those fucking pits? Do you think it's upper class northern Chinese people? Do you think it's might be some people snatched from fucking Vietnam? A couple of those, I'm sure. But it's a bunch of fucking Uyghurs.
But they are paying substantial tariffs.
Well, I noticed that because it seems like you can
No, they're not. We are.
go so far with China, but you don't sort of use the leverage that you can use. I mean, look,
If I ever had to use it, I'd use it. But when there's no reason to use it, that's good too.
well, we did just arrest 3 or 4 Chinese nationals who tried to bring a pathogen into the country that gets people sick and destroys food supply. We've got hacking.
You don't know where that came from, though. I mean, did that come from the country, or is that 3 wackos that happened to carry something? You know, you just don't.
Well, there was one.
What do you mean you just don't know, you motherfucker? You're the president of the United States. By the way, what he's talking about, hold on. This is what she's talking about. It was a fungus. I believe it was Michigan they were bringing it into. Yeah. Let's see. Here you go. Chinese nationals charged with conspiracy and smuggling a dangerous biological pathogen into the U.S. for their work at University of Michigan Laboratory. Yun Qingjian, 33, Zun Yongyu, 34, citizen of the People's Republic of China, were charged in a criminal complaint with conspiracy, smuggling goods into the United States, false statements, and visa fraud. Gordon Jersey, the FBI arrested Jian in connection with allegations related to Jian and Liu's smuggling into America a fungus called Fusarium graminarum, which scientific literature classifies as a potential agro-terrorism weapon. This noxious fungus causes head blight, a disease of wheat. By the way, this is why we have fucking biological labs in Ukraine. Because Ukraine has fucking wheat. And it's the breadbasket of Europe. And it's where a lot of Africa gets a lot, you know, the aid that we used to send to Africa when Americans gave a shit about USAID before we soft-pedaled Donald Trump into fucking office again. That wheat came from Ukraine. And one of the reasons why we have biolabs there is to fight head blight. Right? Wheat blight. Things that kill entire crops. It's something you have to be on top of all the fucking time. And there are bio and agro-terrorism ways of controlling this stuff on purpose so that you can wipe out the food of a place before you come in and kill everybody. It's done in Africa all the fucking time. The Wagner Group, the Chinese, they roll through there and they destroy crops with this kind of shit so that they can come in and go, hey, our special crop doesn't have that problem. So we'll sell you seed, and then if they don't pay you for it specifically, you cut it off and they can't get seed that grows there anymore because there's this fucking blight waiting for anywhere. If you buy the seed that isn't immune to it that they've designed, fucking hell. All right. Head blight, a disease of wheat, barley, maize, and rice, and is responsible for billions of dollars in economic losses worldwide each year. Fusarium graminarum's toxins cause vomiting, liver damage, and reproductive defects in humans and livestock. According to the complaint, Jen received Chinese government funding for her work on this pathogen in China. The complaint also alleges that Jen's electronics contain information describing her membership in and loyalty to the Chinese Communist Party. It is further alleged that Jen's boyfriend Liu works at a Chinese university where he conducts research on the same pathogen, that he first lied, but then admitted to smuggling it into America through the Detroit Metropolitan Airport so that he could conduct research on it at the laboratory at the University of Michigan where his girlfriend Jen worked. The alleged actions of these Chinese nationals, included a loyal member of the Chinese Communist Party, are of the gravest national security concerns. These two aliens are charged with smuggling a fungus that has been described as a potential agro-terrorism weapon into the heartland of America, where they apparently intended to use it, to use a University of Michigan laboratory to further their scheme. To grow it. You take this much in, and then you go into the lab. While she's got access to the lab, you can grow a shit ton of it, and enough to make a weapon. Enough to release it and destroy this. Good fucking God. You don't know. It's maybe some crazies. Listen to this asshole. This is that. What I just read you, by the way, is the justice.gov summary of the U.S. Attorney of the Eastern District of Michigan's charges against them. That's what she's referencing. This is a real thing. And listen to his fucking response.
And destroys food supply.
There's no reason to use it. That's good too.
Well, we did just arrest 3 or 4 Chinese nationals who tried to bring a pathogen into the country that gets people sick and destroys food supply. We've got hacking.
You don't know where that came from, though. I mean, did that come from the country, or is that 3 wackos that happened to carry something? You know, you just don't.
Well, there was one that he signed that he would be, one of them signed a paper saying that he would value Mao Zedong's value system. So there was that. And then they hacked. Didn't they hack into our telecom system? They've been stealing intellectual property. They fentanyl.
Yeah, you don't understand, Maria. TikTok helped him get elected, which means the Chinese government used the algorithm to boost Donald Trump because for some fucking reason, they thought he would be more friendly to them. I don't know where you get that idea.
COVID, I mean, you know, all of this stuff.
Oh, yes, I will be doing an AMA after the show now because we hit our goal. Thanks, guys.
So how do you negotiate with obviously a bad actor and trust them on economics?
You don't think we do that to them? We do.
So
We do a lot of things.
that's the way the world works?
Hold on. We do not smuggle crop-killing pathogens into their country, dummy. Look at his fucking face.
It's the way the world works. It's a nasty world.
And then you just do a trade deal?
We do. Well, we made a lot of money with this trade deal. You know, I do a trade deal if it works. We made a lot of money with the trade.
So if some people have to be poisoned and have their fucking, like, livers turned to liquid and bleed out their asshole, that's, you know, I mean, what do you want, T-shirts to be $1 more?
Deal.
You think that China is going to stop bullying companies to give them information in terms of in exchange for getting those rare earth minerals now? What
Well, the
deal
companies shouldn't put themselves in that position. You know, they really shouldn't. Now, I will say this: China right now needs those companies much more than they needed them 2 years ago. 2 years ago, China.
Right. Everybody, the same way that Microsoft needed Apple to survive. That's why during the Gil Amelio years, Bill Gates invested in Apple because they were basically the R&D firm for Windows. That's not necessarily good, though. They're not doing it out of the goodness of their heart.
They could do that today. They can't because they need those companies. They need Apple. They need all of, you know, Apple's spending $600 billion, $700 billion in the United States building plants. They were never going to do that. Think of it, $700 billion.
CHIPS Act.
But a lot of the companies that are in China are now relocating back to the United States. So,
No, they're not.
yeah, China's going to treat them much better as they need them. They didn't need them under Biden because they were ripping us off left and right. They need them under Trump.
What? They didn't need American companies to come into China, but they need American companies to come into China under Trump so that they can steal intellectual property, which is what she was referencing.
Just had a big success at NATO, getting the members to agree to spend more on defense. Is there anything you can do to get Congress to...
All right, look. If you show up at a party with a gun, and the next time you come to the party, everybody has 2 guns because you showed up with a gun, you didn't make the situation more of a draw and therefore more peaceful. Look at this. I brought a gun to this party, and now everybody's got a gun, and so we're all basically in a Mexican standoff, you know? Somebody was worried that I would walk in there and shoot people, but now everybody's got a gun. They upped the ante that they're willing to put in because they know that Donald Trump is a problem, because he's not going to back them, and Russia will take advantage of this. And again, all they have to do is announce it. He's never going to fucking follow up. They're going to phase it in starting a year from now. And then a year after that, they'll give certain people dispensations. And a year after that, we'll have a Democrat in office. That's what they're counting on.
Codify this to get their governments to codify it.
Right. That's what she's saying about codifying. By the way,
What you do, the best insurance is if they don't do it, you leave. You don't do business with them anymore. You don't do business. You have to have a certain trust, but you can also say trust but verify. But we're making unbelievable this.
There is litigation.
Look at the fucking edits. Like he just rambled. That was just gibberish. Watch her cut on this.
What you do, the best insurance is if they don't do it, you leave. You don't do business with them anymore. You don't do business. You have to have.
You don't do. That's what we're doing with a treaty. That's what a treaty is. Business. That's what he's talking about. He's talking about NATO. That if they don't do business, if you don't like how they're doing business, you don't do business anymore. It ain't business, motherfucker. It's life and death. This is the problem with a businessman running the fucking government, ladies and gentlemen. I've heard this for so long where people are like, we need a businessman in there. Nope. Because you can't fire the poor. Because life matters. Because this isn't about property. This isn't about leverage and sales. These are real human lives on the line. And this kind of flippant, like, especially if you are going to pick somebody who's done business, at least have a bootstrapper who started the fucking thing. Not these second generation rich kids like him. You think this motherfucker, you'd know his name if his dad hadn't built a business? You're kidding me, right?
A certain trust, but you can also say trust but verify. But we're making unbelievable deals.
There is litigation.
See that edit? We're making unbelievable deals there.
Around the legality of those tariffs. Are you going to be able to get more trade deals done before you hear from the International Court of Appeals in August?
Sure, but we won the litigation and we had the delay and we had some radical left judge and then we had it overturned. And we're doing well in all of our litigation. We're doing well on the tariff litigation. Look, if some
No, he isn't.
judge said we can't do tariffs, we would fall prey to the rest of the world who would do tariffs and are doing tariffs on us.
By the way, no judge said you can't do tariffs. You just can't do, the president does not have the power to do blanket tariffs on the entire fucking world willy-nilly. You need Congress's job. It's Congress's job. And here's the thing. This motherfucker has the House and the Senate. That's the part I like. I think more attention needs to be drawn to this. Because they've got the House, and he could get these tariffs if he really believes in them, and they're really going to work. Why wouldn't his own party that controls the House and the Senate be able to pass the fucking things? Why would they be able to put together? I mean, besides the fact they're all stupid and it's a lie. No, okay, let's put this aside. Let's pretend we're on Earth 1 and what he's saying has any sense of reality to it. If I was the Republican president of the United States and I was going to present a massive trade negotiation with how the rest of the world deals with the United States because I felt like we were being taken advantage of, even though, like, I don't know anybody that doesn't have a trade deficit with their wholesaler or a rich person who doesn't have a purchasing deficit with the store on their corner. Like, it's just ridiculous. But let's just operate in this fantasy fucking world. I bring in a team of 10 to 15 people. Each one would have a strategy group assigned to them for sectors of the economy and the major suppliers in the United States. And we would start there. We'd start with all the most expensive things and try shaving off as much of those around the necessities as we possibly could. And then anything that was optional culturally, we would have almost zero tariffs on because it would be a cultural exchange aspect of things. But wine and cheese and that kind of shit, by volume from Italy and France, they're never going to be able to catch up with the amount of volume we have here. So we're going to have a deficit. So what we would want to do is just exchanges, not trying to overtake their system, not having their system overtake ours, but a fusion of those two industries and opening up the sort of interactive trade on those areas so that you have more cultural exchange with countries all over the world. And then you worry about the big materials that other stuff is built upon, that the United States uses to build its own shit. That you would focus on those. You'd have like a working group on each of those, and then you would send them to Congress in your first 30 days and go, this is going to happen. I'm going to start issuing these individually because I believe it to be a financial emergency that's going to cost us, and it's because it could extrapolate costs over the years that we're here. For every month we let it pass, the interest on how much our deficit is costing us in this particular area, or how it's strangling our industry, will catch up with us at some point. We can look down the road and say steel production will be destroyed if we keep heading in this direction. So every month that passes while we're still doing this, we've got to remedy it now. And so this is how I'm going to do it, and it's going to be gnarly unless you guys help. So this is what I would like to propose, and we will work this way out, and then pass the fucking thing. Vote on it. If it's going to work, if some variation of it's going to work, and then operate it in stages so that you can go, we're going to do this, and then if they come back and try to harm our system, we're going to implement a higher tiered part of this, and they vote on it, and then it starts this process. And then you have the president would be given in that legislation a time window of 1.5 years and the ability leading up to the midterms or the next election, which is probably the window that you could get from the House or the Senate. And then during that time, you would say, okay, in the first 4 months, if they don't meet us halfway on this part, we're going to ratchet it up to this next mark and then this next mark. And the business community would know this. The other country would know this. The Congress will have signed off on it and made it actually happen. And it will give the president flexibility to interact, raise and lower it a little bit, but it wouldn't be fucking wrenching the goddamn economy back and forth. This is not that complicated. Even in the complication of this kind of, the tariffs themselves being a complicated thing. This motherfucker just thinks it's a light switch. And the courts didn't say the president can't do tariffs. The president can do tariffs within the confines of what the Congress has given him. And the idea that he can blanket tariff the whole fucking world and upend the economy is just stupid. This all comes from, I got to tell you, this is blowback from the Cold War. This is fundamentally blowback from the Cold War, where the president of the United States was given a football. He was given this briefcase that in it has the nuclear codes in it. And if he ever decides on a whim to Martin Sheen this shit, he's got the power to do it. He can put his fucking hand sensor on this thing and say the missiles are away, hallelujah, and launch a first strike. He's got the power to do that. And so what Trump extrapolates from that thing, this Cold War necessary evil that you had to scare, even if it's, by the way, there's a possibility that the football story is bullshit, that it actually does take several people to do this. But the story that is told to the world is to scare the Soviets back in the day or anybody else, that the president could go fucking wacko and kill everybody, so you better mind your manners. But let's say it is true. What he's gotten from that is that there's a football for everything. If I want to nuke the economy because I feel the threat is there, I should be able to do that. If I want to nuke our international relationships with other countries as far as immigration, I should be able to do that. All I have to do is perceive a threat, snap, and put my hand on the panel and say, fuck them. That's where this all comes from. If I have the ability and the power and the right to nuke the fucking world, anything below that, I certainly have the right to do whatever the fuck I want.
We couldn't fight them back with tariffs. This country would be in terrible shape. We would be like this innocent lamb being led to slaughter. So
that's adorable.
No, we're doing great on economics. We're doing great on tariffs. Tariffs is just a part of it. We're drilling like never before. That's how the oil.
We were drilling like never before when Biden was in. We haven't increased drilling.
Got down low.
The Supreme Court victory that you...
Edit. Look at that. He lied and she cut it out.
Like
Watch.
never before. That's how the oil got down low.
The Supreme Court victory...
That's how the oil got down low cut. Did you see that? I want to be clear. Maggots in the chat, pay attention to your hero right here. Maria Bartiromo is cutting the living fuck out of this interview.
Drilling like never before. That's how the oil got down low.
The Supreme Court victory that you got today, Friday, do you think that could apply to the tariff litigation that's pending here in terms of the legality of your tariffs? Does that affect that at all?
It could, but again, the tariff litigation, if you look at it, there are alternatives if we have to use them. They're not as good because they're not as direct. They're not as biting, but they're very good. So that you have alternatives. But we want to use this particular asset, this particular grouping, the words of this are so beautiful. They were meant for it. But what happens with the tariff?
The what?
Alternatives. But we want to use this particular asset, this particular grouping, the words of this are so beautiful. They were meant for it. But what happens with the tariff?
I mean, just fucking gibberish.
Is that if a judge ruled against us, and this is part of how you win, fairness is also a part of the law. If a judge ruled against us on tariffs, we would fall prey to other countries destroying us. We can't do that. If they do
Well, no, you would just have to pass it through the Congress.
tariffs on us, we do tariffs on them.
Hold on.
It's destroying us. We can't do that. If they do tariffs on us,
Yes, if they do tariffs on us,
fall prey to other countries destroying us. We can't do that. If they do tariffs on us, we do tariffs on them.
right, it's a tariff on tariff.
If they charge us, we charge them. Then they never charge us.
Yeah, that's not how it works at all. That's not how it's been working.
Hey, it's
Jesus Christ. So that's dear leader.